This is going to be my first official redraw from my 2017 sketchbook. The original was left unfinished with no background, and I wasn't too happy with my character's pose and expression. I have always wanted to come back and finish this illustration, and I think now is the time to try again. I had most of the visual information that I wanted in this illustration, but I thought it best to go in and do a small little sketch to kind of work out the kinks that were missing in the original. I especially wanted to work on Axon, the main character, to make sure that his pose looked good. From there, it was a matter of redrawing everything and copying the details from the original and adding in the new details from the thumbnail. I also spent a little extra time working on the face details for Axon because I wanted to get his expression just right. One thing I'm pretty proud of with this redraw is my foliage. I used to struggle a lot with adding details like plants and shrubs and stuff, so having all these plants around I think really help brighten up my illustrations compared to the original. I also think Axon's new pose is a lot more dynamic and expresses the having to run away feeling I want to portray in this. The bird pretty much stayed the same. I changed a few of the details a little bit. One thing I did that I didn't like was I made the wing on this chick a little bit too long, and it bothered me after the fact. I don't know why I made it a little longer. It's really not that big of a detail, but it's enough to bother me. And I think that's because it makes it look more like an adult bird, and this is supposed to be a baby bird. So I hope, regardless of the wing blunder, it still kind of comes across as a chick and not an adult bird. For added context, this is the part of a story I'm writing where the main character is searching for eggshells, which is an ingredient he needs to help his friend. And he comes across the chick, which then chases him and his partner off of where they are. It's supposed to be all very dramatic and climactic, and hopefully this illustration shows a little bit of that. Now we're coming to the point in this illustration where I started having a lot of doubt in my painting abilities. I often call this stage the ugly duckling stage of a painting, and it's where you end up having a lot of self-doubt about how a painting is going, and it almost always turns out fine as long as you keep going. But yeah, this was just not the prettiest part. After I had all these colors down, all these layers, I was like, oh boy, this isn't jiving for me. This is no good. And at this part of the painting, it's probably only half done. And I started thinking about like what is going to make this illustration look better. And I started adding in the blue sky, and it made me feel a lot better because I knew I needed to add darker colors, make everything deeper and richer, and add more blue. I started adding more plants in the background and really putting in the colors. The colors for the plants in the foreground, I decided I would try to variate their colors a bit, and I'm glad I did that. I think it gave this a lot more, I don't know, a realistic touch, I think is what I'm trying to say. It made me feel better again about my progress in this illustration. I started feeling really confident again when I started adding the grays to the trees and the additional shadowy colors to the bird. Making the blues really bright really helped ease my mind. And finally, when I started working on the trees, that's when everything really started coming together for me. Everything seemed to balance out a lot better, and I was starting to feel really good about how this illustration was going to end. The final bits of a painting are always the most tedious. You always look at it and say, oh, just a bit more, just a bit more. I ended up darkening quite a few more spots and adding more shadowy bits, which really helped finish this illustration. Compared to the original, I think I did a good job on filling in all of the missing details and really making this illustration come to life with the story that I want to tell. Let me know in the comments what you think, and I'll see you next time.